Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. This morning, we are visiting with our friends and partners from Heart of Louisiana Credit Union, and we are introducing a new member of their family and their team. His name is Christian Jones. He is the new marketing director for Heart of Louisiana Credit Union, and we're super delighted to have him on point. Christian, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we know that when we become members, when we join the team, we're not just members and we're family. We become family.
Right.
And so we're excited that the Heart of Louisiana is really reimagining what people's finances, how business is being done differently since the pandemic.
Yeah, we have such a big family here in Central Louisiana. We've been here since 1955. And for us, when the pandemic started, it was so important for us to maintain that feeling of family and finding innovative ways to stay engaged with our community. So we've done some different things at the credit union throughout this year, not nearly as much as we had anticipated doing because of the pandemic, but it's really teaching us how to rely on those digital tools that we have to make things happen. And we're really excited to, see how things change as a result of the, pandemic in terms of, really making us be innovative and stay fresh.
So I know that Cindy, who is the CEO of the Heart of Louisiana Credit Union, when she looks at the members, she looks at them as family, and she is always looking to see what tools, what services that can be put in place. And with the pandemic, how did you guys begin to reimagine what that would look like for your members?
Right. So when the pandemic started, I don't think any business was prepared for what was about to happen. But what helped us and what Cindy has always really pushed is that we have to keep our members in the forefront of everything that we do. We have to think first with them in mind. So when we initially shut down, of course, we had to close our doors and go to drive-through only. But as the regulations started to pull back and the mandate started to move towards phase 2, we had to think about how were we going to continue to serve our members while also protecting our members. And that really led us to innovate and do something that we had never done before, which is we actually implemented a curbside check-in process that's done completely via text message. And that allows our members to pull up to any of our locations, sign in to see one of our FFOs, our family financial officers, and be assisted. So that was a huge undertaking for an organization like ours that, we're a small family and we do a lot of big swings. So we were really excited to be able to continue to serve our members and help them financially.
So when you talk about moving to a more digital service, how did our older family members, how did we deal with that?
It was one of those situations where, we're human. So we have to be willing to accept that certain, people are not going to be able to do this. And what that looks like for us is that, if grandma pulls up the credit union, think of her as if, this is your grandma or your grandpa or your mom or your dad that's pulling up. How would you treat them in a situation where their whole world has changed? This is something that they've never experienced and they don't have the skill set to use this technology. Right. So for us, it became more about personal service. How can we help this member and really being present in each interaction? Because it's not enough to say one size fits all in this pandemic, because that's not the case. So, there were some moments where we had to, kind of walk our members through, and now they love it. They love the idea of doing something different and adopting a new technology and learning how to do things,
How did that affect the wait time?
Wait times, interestingly enough, we found that a lot of people are really implementing those social distancing rules. So if they could go through the drive-through to handle their transaction, they actually continued to do that.
Okay.
So we were prepared for this mass influx if need be, but honestly, it was more of a slow trickle of people starting to come back in and starting to re-engage inside the branch. So it honestly worked out for the best.
Sure. So moving forward, we're making it through all of the holidays.
Yes.
But we're all trying to make it through the pandemic. We have the vaccine, but we're not sure when it will end. And so everybody is sort of holding on to their dollars. And those people who maybe did have a savings may have exhausted that for various different reasons.
Right.
So what is the credit union going to put in place to sort of help people that don't have a savings, that had to exhaust their money? What kind of counseling or services will be in place to help people going forward?
Right. So, in the past, we've done financial checkups throughout the years, and that's something we're definitely going to bring back because even outside of the pandemic, we've had these two hurricanes to hit our area, and they have had tremendous impact financially on people. So that is something we plan on bringing back in the new year, is bringing back our financial checkups and doing some different accounts. We want to start getting people to save again because this year has taught us the importance of that. And when we were starting to research some new products and some ways that we can offer relief to our members, one of the things that we found was that 51% of Louisianians are not in a position to survive a $400 emergency financially.
Wow.
So you think about $400, it's a lot of money to a lot of people, but that's just crazy, that's the fact. And this is figures from 2 years ago in 2018 because it takes a while to process all that data. So imagine what they'll look like 2 years from now when we're looking back on 2020 and the effect of the pandemic and the hurricanes, how different the situation may be, how much higher that number will be. So right now we're looking at doing some different savings accounts, doing some different incentives to get people back on track, because in finance, we recommend that people have 3 to 6 months worth of savings, for all of their expenses to cover everything in the event they lose their job or have an emergency. But at this point, we're 9 months into this pandemic, and some people have been without work since March.
Right.
So that is likely exhausted. So how do we get people back on track to saving is what we're really focusing on. How do we get people to start building that back up? So we're doing some things, and we've got some things in the works.
Is that scary for you guys? Because I can hear people in the spirit realm saying, I don't really have a whole lot to save.
Right.
And so how do we talk about just maybe putting a little bit aside, even though you may not feel like you're in a position to save?
Right. When I talk to people saving, and, I have friends that are, in their 20s and they've never saved before. And it's a skill. So it's something you have to learn how to do.
It's a skill. I never thought about it like that. That's
It's something
powerful.
that if you haven't been taught it or you haven't seen it modeled well, it can be very intimidating. My own personal story with savings is that in college, I didn't have one. So to think that
I think you were probably not the exception, but more the rule, because I mean,
you don't anticipate
you don't think about that.
But I was living on my own. I had a full-time job and I had bills to pay. So if I had a $400 emergency, if I didn't have a safety net of some sort, I would have been up a creek without a paddle. So for me, it became of like, let's make saving a game. How can I challenge myself to do this? And for me, what I've learned is that it's very important to set what we call SMART goals when you're saving. So it needs to be specific, it needs to be measurable, it needs to be attainable, relevant, and time bound. When you put that framework in place when you're saving, it makes you set yourself up for success. So let me give you an example. If I'm saving for a vacation during the summertime, let's say I want to take a trip for my birthday during the summer because I'm a July baby, and that's when I do my little vacation for the year. If I'm saying I'm going to save $1,000 for my birthday, and I just say that, and I don't put any sort of parameters around that,
Sure.
I'm never going to save the $1,000. I'm going to put $50 aside here, $100 aside there, but I'm never going to reach that goal because I'm not giving myself the framework to actually do it, and I'm not really challenging myself. But if I say, okay, $1,000 from January 1 to June 1 is $84 a week. I know that I spend that on Netflix, Hulu, eating out, whatever the case may be. I'm going to save $84 a week for the next 6 months so that at the end of June, I'll have over $1,000 saved for my vacation, so I won't have to put it on my credit card. That's what we call a SMART goal. We've made it specific. We've made it measurable. We've made it something attainable. We've made it relevant to our life.
Sure.
And we've given ourselves enough time to do it, but not so much time that it never happens. And I think that that's how we have to reimagine saving in this new world, is that 3 to 6 months is not, attainable for a lot of people. It wasn't attainable before the pandemic, but it's how you set those smaller goals and making that real connection in your everyday life of things that you want to achieve that's going to push you to do it.
Sure.
So I like to tell people, if savings is a race, you do whatever you have to do to get to the end of the finish line. If you have to run, if you have to walk, if you have to crawl, no matter what the amount is, you have to do something, because $400, if that can make or break you,
Right.
That's very scary.
It is scary. Let's take a break here, Christian. But when we come back, I want to talk about financial checkups. And it could be scary for a lot of people because with the pandemic, a lot of people don't want to look at
Right.
their credit score, but how is the Heart of Louisiana working to help their members and their future members rebuild? We'll talk about that plus more right after this. Stay on point. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. This morning, we're having a conversation that really affects every single person, and it's our finances. It's what we look like for the 9 months or so that we've gone through the pandemic, and what will we look like on the other side of the pandemic. Our guest this morning is Christian Jones. He is the marketing director for Heart of Louisiana Credit Union, and we're just talking about how you can start the process, maybe, Christian, of rebuilding.
Right.
Before we went to break, we were talking about people and saving. And for a lot of people, I think we put off savings like we put off anything else. And how do we encourage people that even if it's a small amount,
Right.
incrementally,
Right.
that will grow?
Right, because in finance, in this industry, we teach people 3 to 6 months. And honestly, that is overwhelming when some people try to think of doing that. So we have to cut it down for the person that's never saved before, that's never engaged in this sort of behavior, because it is a skill like we talked about before. It's something that you have to either see modeled for you or have taught to you. So if you're teaching yourself how to do it, 3 to 6 months is just not feasible in many cases. Living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have that extra income that, you could facilitate that sort of thing. So it's about creating small actionable goals that you can achieve. We talked about making SMART goals earlier.
And so when people come in, do you sit down and have this conversation about making those small and actionable goals?
Right. Our whole mission at the credit union with Heart is people helping people. So when our family financial officers sit down with this person that's come in, we treat them like a member of our family, and we counsel them and we teach them, whether it's opening a savings account, which, that's the basis of every membership, is opening that savings account. So it immediately gets everybody in the mind of saving. But we also have some other products like credit builder loans, which are going to be so important.
And let's talk about what they are.
Yes. So credit builder loans are these really interesting things. Basically, the way it works is you come in and you take out this sort of loan. And what you do is it's actually money that you pay back to build up credit on your credit report. And then at the end of that loan, you actually get that money back. So let's say I walk in and I take out a credit builder loan for $500. At the end of that loan's term, I actually get that money back.
Right.
So what it does is it gets your credit report active and shows that you have consistent payments, on-time payments, regular payments for a loan. And we know that that boosts your credit score.
Sure.
So as we move into a post-pandemic world, that's going to be a really great opportunity for a lot of people who have, depleted their savings, taken out loans, and have exhausted their credit to get their credit score in a better place.
And so for those people that may not have remembered, Heart of Louisiana's financial checkup, and because of the pandemic, maybe mortgages may have been paid late, or maybe car payments may have been paid late. And I know a lot of those institutions made a way for you to extend that, but maybe people still had challenges. And so maybe their credit report is going to look different. How do we start to talk about rebuilding that post-pandemic?
Right. I think that it has to be a very honest and open conversation. A lot of times there's shame around having a poor credit score. And I think that the most important thing people need to know is that there's no shame in falling in hard times. We've all been there before. So don't be so afraid to have the conversation that you just continue to let things go down. Have the tough conversation, get through it, and know that we're here for you. We're a partner, and that we're going to help you get through this, because that's what we're all about. A lot of times people go into these big banks and they get denied for a loan, or they get denied for a mortgage. And that can be a really hard blow, and it can be very discouraging. But the great thing about your local financial institutions like the Heart is that we're here. All of our decisions on credit are made in-house, and we're able to look at a bigger picture and not just a list of criteria that to see if you check every box on this list, and if you don't, you're not worthy of us helping you. We're able to look at people's history and really see the external factors that other financial institutions may not even consider.
Now, another factor that is apparent for a lot of families are payday loans.
Oh, yes.
And a lot of people, maybe because of no job or limited income may have thought that payday loans were a good idea and have found now that they
Right.
are upside down, so to speak.
Right, right. And I think that what leads a lot of people in the first place to consider a payday loan is that they're desperate. They feel like they've exhausted every means to an end to
Because
get.
if you're $400, if you're in a crisis and you have an emergency and you need
Right,
$400 and you don't have anybody to ask
right.
for that $400, you don't have it, you don't have anybody to ask, then what?
Then you go
Payday
to a
loan.
payday lender because you can get that money the same day. It's fast. It comes out of you write them a check basically for the amount to cover it, and they take payments from you. And it seems very convenient. And in a lot of cases, it can be. But the sad reality about payday loans is that the data shows that the interest rates are sometimes quadruple, triple the amount that you would pay if you went to a bank or a credit union, right? So that's
Sure.
the first thing. You're paying exorbitant amounts of interest on a very small amount of money over a very short time period. The second thing is that people usually get caught in that cycle of they make a few payments and then they just go in and extend it or they borrow again. But what a lot of people don't realize is that you can go to a credit union in most cases like ours and get a loan for that same amount at an interest rate that is much lower, smaller monthly payments over a long period of time. So I always encourage people when they say, I think I might have to get a payday loan, go into the credit union because, again, those decisions on credit and lending are made locally. So we're able to see your history and consider things that other financial institutions don't even look
And do
at.
you think it's fear? I'd rather not go to an institution
Yes.
that's going to really look at my credit. I'd rather go to the payday lender that all I have to do is give them a check
And show proof of
and
income,
show proof
right?
of
And
income.
and I think that fear stops a lot of people, and it's sort of breaking that thinking of credit unions, especially because a lot of people look at us just like banks, but we're not a bank. We're a credit union, and we survive on our members. We thrive from our members, and our members are everything to us. And at heart, our members are like our family. So if your family falls on hard times, you would do anything to help them out. And that's how we look at the situation of every person walking in. So we try to really encourage people to use that as a last resort because it's a cycle and it's a trap in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. Christian, we're going to have many conversations because
Yes.
what we know is that communities around central Louisiana are going to want to rebuild their credit, and they're going to want to rebuild with an institution like Heart of Louisiana Credit Union because there is heart there. So for people who are watching and who are listening, tell people really quickly how they can become a member because it's so easy.
So becoming a member of the Heart is one of the easiest things that I've ever done, that so many people have ever done. All you need is $10 to open a savings account. That is the basic
$10.
$10. I like to say $10 and 10 minutes of your time. Come in, sit with one of our family financial officers, get that savings account open to start your membership. And from there, you have access to so many great products. We offer mortgage loans, auto loans, HELOCs, so many different things that people need that they just don't consider us for. So $10 in 10 minutes, come see us and we'll get you started on a
10
financial
and 10.
10 and 10.
10 and 10. Heart of Louisiana Credit Union is the credit union with heart. And it is led by an incredible woman with an
Yes.
incredible heart.
Oh
Her
my
name
gosh.
is Cindy Beauregard. She is our friend and our partner, and we look forward to many, many conversations about how Central Louisiana will rebuild itself and its finances. Christian, we're super excited about your
Yes.
addition to the heart,
Thank you.
and we can't wait for many more conversations.
Thank you so much for having me.
Indeed. Hey, everybody, stay on point. We're back right after this.